What's up, everybody? Charlie Marlowe here. Little patio chat, a little bit of news if you didn't hear on Hot Take Central. So here goes. I'll try to explain everything. So basically, I'm no longer going to be on Hot Take Central full time. However, I'm not leaving the show at all. And as of now, I'm going to be on Tuesdays and Thursdays for basically the second half of the show. And I'm going to be in a lot of other times to fill in when other people are out. And I think you guys know, if you listen to the show and over the years, Jimmy the Cat Hayes is on the road a lot for the Cardinals. So I'll be filling in for full shows a lot during Cardinal season if guys are on vacation and all that. So that's what's going on. I'm not leaving the show. This was my decision. And I think I'm still going to be on like half the time. It's going to be like if you listen to the shows back in the day on the morning after, that's the role I wanted, was to be the super fill-in guy. And I'll explain why. So basically, I went to our owner like 9-10 months ago and said I was thinking about this. So I've been thinking about this for a long time. Basically, once the NASCAR season started again, February, March, and we've really built up this Kenny Wallace YouTube channel, podcast, platform, and all that. And then baseball also obviously overlaps the NASCAR season. So my other YouTube channel that I spend a lot of time on, but not nearly as much as the Kenny Wallace NASCAR channel, is the baseball channel. So during NASCAR and baseball season, essentially February through October, early November, it's just balls to the wall, tons of work, which is all good. I'm not complaining in any way, shape, or form. But the Kenny Wallace YouTube channel, which is now 2 YouTube channels, a podcast platform, it's become a full-time job, which is a great thing. I'm super proud of that. I think we're building something really, really cool. Our numbers have really increased. We doubled and tripled most of our numbers from 2022 to 2023. So basically, this is all about just work-life balance. Back in the day, when I was doing the morning after as the fill-in guy, TV was my main job. And even though you say, okay, well, radio, it's not really a full-time job. You're only doing 3 hours a day. I get that. But it's 7 to 10. It's a full-time commitment. It really becomes about 4 hours a day. It's about 20 hours a week. Let's just say 6:15 to 10:15 every morning on radio. So all I wanted to do was dial that back, open up more hours to do the YouTube and the podcast, because I've been finding myself having to basically do the YouTube and the podcast at 5, 6 o'clock at night when I'm with my kids and all that. Sometimes I'll do some editing later at night. So all I'm trying to do is free up more hours so that I can hopefully get almost all of my work done during business hours between 7 a.m. and basically 3 o'clock or so, 3:30 when I go to pick my kids up. And I just feel like dialing back the radio is going to allow me to do that. So I told our owner at 590 about 3 months ago about this, that I was definitively going to do this. So everybody knew, like I said, everything's good. This was my decision. And, you got Cam, you got Kat, you got Cole now is going to have a bigger role. Matt Whitener is still obviously in the mix. I'm going to be in the mix. And I'll be on a lot. Like next week, I'm already going to be on Wednesday. So I'm going to be on a lot. And really, I said work-life balance. Seeing my kids more. I'll be able to see my kids in the morning, which is great for an hour as they're getting ready to go to school. I got a kid in kindergarten and preschool, so it'd be nice to see my kids for an hour in the morning, which I didn't get to do before that. And then also just have a lot of stuff kind of planned for 2024, expanding the YouTube and expanding the podcast, and really kind of going all in on YouTube and podcast also. So I'll explain that. Basically. So the Kenny Wallace YouTube channel is growing fantastic, and that's a full-time job. And we're going to go balls to the wall on that. I'm going to start doing more NASCAR and racing content myself, now that I've been following NASCAR again for the last 2 years. And I actually covered NASCAR a lot when I was in Lansing, Michigan in 06, 07, because Michigan International Speedway is in the market. So we covered the Cup races. I covered, I think, 4 Cup races. I went to Charlotte a couple times for the All-Star race, and covered a lot of NASCAR, but then didn't really for the last, 14 years, until the last 2 years. And then St. Louis also gets a NASCAR Cup race. We're doing this with Kenny. I also now, because I've been following NASCAR every day for 2 years, I feel like I'm more comfortable of really doing my own content, commentary, podcasts as well. as Kenny. Kenny's the main guy. I'm more the behind the scenes guy, but I think I'm going to increase my on-air stuff with the NASCAR as well. We're talking to some racing reporters and all that about adding folks, contributors, try to maybe create a little mini NASCAR racing network of people and reporters, just to kind of have so much content on the 2 YouTube channels and the podcast platform. So basically the main reason is the growth of the Kenny Wallace YouTube channel and podcast. There's a lot of hours for that, 40, 50 hours a week, easy. The Cardinals channel is probably 20 hours a week, whatever it is. And I love baseball, so we're going to be on that. And then I'm adding some stuff. So basically, Brendan Schaefer and I are going to do a weekly Cardinals podcast. That'll be easy, probably just like a half an hour or an hour every week. And maybe we'll grow it if it does really well, but we'll start at an hour per week. And then Eric Messersmith, if you know him from back in the day, different radio stations around St. Louis, 590, 101 back in the day. He's been working for Fox News out in LA for the last couple years in sports. You can see him on the weekend shows talking politics and all that. Always a guy I really enjoyed listening to. We worked together a little bit, never did a show together. I've always thought about, hey, if you ever want to do a show on news and politics and all that, I've always thought Eric Messersmith would be a great person to do that with. So we've been talking the last couple months or so. He's actually leaving Fox News as a full-time guy. So we're going to start a podcast also. We'll probably start just doing it once per week. That could grow. I just think 2024 is going to be so nutty with politics that you kind of got to jump in and just talk about it. I feel like almost every day it's going to be what everybody's talking about with the craziness of the 2024 election. So I feel like we need to jump on board with that and do a little more news and politics. And just so everybody knows, this is all going to be separate on YouTube channels. I understand that people sometimes don't want to mix their news and politics, or sports and politics. I don't care about that, but other people do. And plus, the way that you create your niche on YouTube, it's actually better in my opinion, unless you're like a superstar like Joe Rogan. It's better to have different channels for different topics. So if you want the Cardinals channel, which is going to be Cardinals, probably 90%, maybe 10% college football in Ohio State, and some Mizzou football, that's going to be the Charlie Marlowe 590 The Fan KFNS YouTube channel. And then the news and politics stuff, I'm also probably going to talk about, rental property business, YouTube monetization, tips and tricks. That's something I'm very interested in. That's just going to be on the Charlie Marlowe YouTube channel. Everything with NASCAR Kenny Wallace, that's on the Kenny Wallace YouTube channel. So I may put some links up in here, but it's pretty easy to subscribe to all those channels. Right now, anything I do sports-wise on podcast is underneath the umbrella of Kenny Wallace Media. So that's there right now. It's mostly Kenny. It's also a bunch of NASCAR press conferences, media availabilities. I've been adding my own, some racing stuff, some football stuff, a lot of Cardinals baseball. I may create my own channel for sports, but I haven't done it yet. So maybe I'll tell you about that down the road. And then the other podcast, which is going to be the news and politics, the Eric Messersmith stuff, we're going to do that on podcast. Also, it's not really built up, but that's going to be, I believe it's Charlie Marlowe or Charlie Marlowe Show on podcast. I may switch the name, but I'm just saying all this so you guys know where to kind of find all these different things. But it's pretty easy. If you just search YouTube or podcast, I think you'll find all this stuff. But it is going to be on some different channels. Like I said, to repeat myself, anything Cardinals and sports will be on the Charlie Marlowe 590 The Fan KFNS YouTube channel. Anything sports on podcast for me is going to be on Kenny Wallace Media. Anything news and politics is going to be Charlie Marlowe YouTube, and then Charlie Marlowe podcast. And all of the NASCAR Kenny Wallace stuff is under the Kenny Wallace YouTube show. Just search Kenny Wallace, and then Kenny Wallace Media on podcast. So there you go. I think I explained everything that I wanted to explain. Like I said, just about kind of work-life balance, because the YouTube was becoming it. The YouTube has been my full-time job for 2 years. And again, it's 40, 50 hours. So I feel like if I dial back the radio, I'll have more time, see my kids in the morning. I'll be able to work less at night. The NASCAR stuff also happens on the weekend. So I do have to work a little bit Saturday, Sunday. I'm not complaining at all. But again, it's just about dialing back the radio so that I can have more hours for the YouTube and the podcast, which has become my full-time job over the last couple of years. I think I covered everything. Another part of it too is I did one of these 2 years ago when I was leaving Fox 2, kind of a little State of the Union. I started this rental property business in 2016, and my goal was to basically just kind of make my own schedule. My goal back in the day was always to be a sports reporter, and I feel like I did that. And then your goals change. In 2016, I just felt like, hey, all I want to do is kind of make my own schedule. And so when I left Fox 2, my plan was actually to leave Fox 2 a year prior in 2020. Then, of course, COVID hits, and it was crazy. There's a lot of uncertainty. And then in the rental property business, when you have an eviction moratorium and people basically don't have to pay you rent, and anybody, okay, if you say, oh, there's a lot of rental assistance at the back end of that, okay, I'm telling you, it was not fun to be a landlord at all during COVID. So that's the reason I stayed at Fox 2 for the extra year through 2021. Done radio the last 2 years with Hot Take Central. Really enjoy the show, but the YouTube has really taken over the last couple of years. So that's going to be now my full-time job moving forward. And like I said, I just love the fact that I have flexibility of the schedule, and Dave Zobrist of 590 has allowed me to do that. So I'm going to be on all the time, but any day that I can't be on, like I don't have to feel bad about not coming in. I'm going to be Tuesdays, Thursdays from about 8:40 to 10. I'm going to do a lot of fill-ins, especially during Cardinals baseball season when Jimmy the Cat Hayes is on the road. And like I said, I think I'm still going to be on the show like half the time. So if you like Hot Take Central, I think it's going to be just the same, if not better. I think Cole's expanded role is going to be great. He's ready for that. I'll still be on a ton. You got Cam, you got Jim, you got Matt Whitener. It's going to be fantastic. So there you go. I'm already getting to the point where I repeat myself a million times, but be on the lookout. All the Cardinals content, a podcast to be named later, whatever we're going to call it with Brendan Schaefer, weekly Talking Cardinals, a podcast to be named later, whatever we call it with Eric Messersmith, talking news and politics. Probably going to do a weekly podcast with Martin Kilcoyne. And then also we're in talks, maybe do a weekly racing podcast with a racing reporter, or just add a reporter to provide content for the Kenny Wallace YouTube channel and podcast. So there you go. Happy New Year. I tried to keep it as short as I could, even though it's 12 minutes here. Plus my hand is shaking. I hope the video is okay. I like doing these outside as opposed to inside with the StreamYard and all that. And it's nice to feel the fresh air. So there you go. That's the news. It's all good. I just wanted to explain it, because every once in a while too, you see somebody. It was announced on Hot Take Central, and one person goes, "This is weird." Well, it's really not weird at all. It's just me wanting more hours for YouTube and podcasts. I still love the radio. Still going to be on the radio a lot, but now it's more like YouTube podcast, my main job, radio, my second job. There you go. I'll shut up. Comment, like, subscribe, share the channel, share the show. If you're watching right now on the Charlie Marlowe 590 The Fan, KFNS YouTube, why don't you pop on over and subscribe to the Charlie Marlowe YouTube if you want the news and politics stuff, which we're going to start next week on that channel. All right. And of course, Kenny Wallace and all the NASCAR, you guys know about that. It's going gangbusters. All right. Peace out. Happy New Year. See you guys. Thank you.